All right, well, we'll get going here. So welcome again, everyone, to another episode of Kundinger Presents. Today's topic features our HMI solutions from B&R Industrial Automation. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Our time for this presentation is set for 30 minutes. Roughly take us about 20 to 22 minutes to get through the material, and then we'll have the remaining time for questions and answers. We have everyone muted, so if you have any questions on the material, please use the chat function and we will try to address all of those before time expires. So I'm Mike Kundinger with Kundinger Inc. We've been providing industrial solutions for almost 60 years in the areas of fluid power, automation, and process controls. If you've attended one of our sessions earlier this year, we thank you for coming back for more technology and insight into one of our partners, B&R Industrial Automation. I'm pleased to have our partner manager and now also fellow Michigander, Tyler Spoolstra, back with me.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it. Again, everyone, my name is Tyler Spoolstra. I've been with B&R for a little bit over 9 years now, and I've worked for the company in a few different roles. And currently, like Mike said, I'm the territory sales manager for B&R in Indiana and Michigan. And specifically in Michigan, I work really closely with our channel partner, Kundinger. So real quick, before we dive into the specifics of the PC and HMI technology, what does B&R do in general? So B&R is an automation solution provider that's been in business for over 40 years. We have a collection of hardware and software that machine builders, system integrators use to control machinery or automate their processes. And one of the main advantages of B&R ecosystem is that it's fully integrated, meaning the PLC, HMI, safety, motion, vision, and track technology all work seamlessly together and are programmed within one software tool called Automation Studio. Again, today we're focusing on PCs and HMIs. But in the future, if there are other topics you want to cover, like Mike said, go ahead and type those in the chat and we can arrange to talk about those at another time.
So our goal today is to give you a broader perspective on HMI designs and areas that are making the biggest impact. We will be highlighting some software options with our solutions that can take advantage of your existing software and controls. I'll also spend some time discussing a solution we call CHMI, which allows you to customize standard hardware to make it your own. Tyler will then touch on some of the hardware variations along with our modular configurations that provide tremendous flexibility for your machine concepts. Then we'll wrap it up with a look at our hygienic solutions, which can really be a game changer in certain industries. So there will be a ton of details that we cannot cover more specifically in today's webinar. So please, again, use the chat window or the feedback survey that's you'll see once you exit the presentation to request any follow-up on the material we couldn't cover in the 30 minutes today. With that, let's move on to the software. So it still amazes me when I tour facilities of end user and machine builders of how often I see screens similar to this one. While it may be functional, the overall appearance tends to send a message that the machine is old, the navigation is not intuitive, and it's best not to try and get any more data out of it. Now contrast that with this screen, and you have something that is aesthetically pleasing. There's tons of information about the process, and you can easily find your way to different areas of the machine. I can also tell you that while this one looks like a sports car, the amount of design and implementation effort put into this was less than the effort put into the full HMI development of the last one we showed when you add all the screens behind the buttons. So the last example was a great illustration of what is possible, but not everyone has the time to reinvent their screens from ground level. So how can you take smaller bites at bringing your next HMI development to market? Well, we have a great path forward here that helps limit the risk of full overhaul, and we call it change your view. In this example, we're showcasing a system working with an Allen Bradley control system. By using a B&R hardware solution, you can add a factory talk view license to the PC, and all the HMI software that was already developed can be reused. That won't drastically improve the graphics of your software, but as you can see later in the presentation, you can still make an impact with the different hardware designs. So let's say you added the hardware and are now looking for that long overdue HMI overhaul, but you realize that there are still HMI limitations offered by that same vendor you were using. What could you do then? Well, this is where we really start to have an impact with your user experience. So by adding on the map view software within Automation Studio, we can easily connect to that same PLC vendor over Ethernet IP and map the variables in the PLC code over to our environment. Once you have those variables mapped, you can start building your screens with stunning colors, graphics, and widgets. The feature list is extremely long, but I'm sure you've had ideas or requests to embed PDF documentation on the screen or provide a how-to video for maintenance or machine fault recovery. Multi-touch functionality has been growing in demand and really enhances the user experience. And we all know with the current pandemic that remote connectivity is needed now more than ever. So again, all of this is possible and works as a third-party solution to an existing controller. So prior to becoming a partner with B&R, we had never really given much thought to branded HMI panels other than the brand that comes on the automation supplier. I'm sure most machine builders view it the same way and just find a way to put a label on the control panel away from the screen. Now that we've had this HMI solution, it has led to many different conversations. The Rockwells and the Siemens didn't develop that machine. You guys did. So it only makes sense to maintain that brand awareness every time your customer uses the screen. So this solution takes a bit of thought to really grasp the impact it can have on your equipment and your customer. How you design your solution can tell a story about your company, and it can also bring unimaginable value to the customer experience with your equipment. When they see these panels, the immediate thought is quality, and they will associate your name with that. Because you are the creator of this product, you own the business not only for the spare parts, but it is building that stronger partnership with that customer. What you saw on the last page were some higher end designs, but with B&R we make it easy to start out small and even have a nice tool called Panel Designer to help you along the way. This configurator allows you to select any of the standard products above and create a custom design for the bezel, cover, or expansion plate. I put a couple links there to access that. Many of the customers that start out with a basic name branding eventually move on to more elaborate customizations like you see here. Adding buttons, RFID readers, key switches, etc. are routine. So we really like this graphic here because notice the impact of branding has with this image. Is the Queen of England using a B&R panel? Of course we know that because that's a B&R customer. But ultimately it's whose name is on the front of that screen that has the biggest impact. Here's another great depiction of the design possibilities. Again, this is referencing B&R customer Crohn's. This also gives you a teaser to our swing arm mount and hygienic capabilities. So this screen was developed for wash down environment and for swing arm mount. Again, just another hygienic version that is integrated into a base console. Finally, we have a representation of a standard screen that also shows a variety of RFID options. Also pictured is a new patented feature we call a hygienic rotary wheel. This allows us to remove the physical device that otherwise would not be suitable for hygienic areas. Simply put, the glass areas with the designs in them are machined in a way to provide the user a smooth texture for operating that area of the screen. So now I'll pass it back over to Tyler to cover the system sizes and options.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so B&R has three main PC families and three main HMI types. And as we go through the rest of the presentation, I'm going to touch on some of the detailed specs for each PC and HMI family. Something unique about the B&R PCs is that any panel PC can work with any HMI. as long as the HMI is physically large enough to mount that PC to. So if the PC is too large to mount to the specific screen you'd like to use, we also offer standalone PCs with DVI, DisplayPort, or SDL interface to connect the PC to the HMI. And we'll explain the SDL a little bit further later in the presentation. So for HMIs that are more traditional that you would like to mount in a cabinet or into an electrical enclosure, we have a product called the Automation Panel 1000. The multi-touch panels of this product are available in sizes ranging from 7 inches to 24 inches, and they go up to full HD resolution. And for the single touch or the 4x3 panels, they have a screen size range from 5.7 inches to 19 inches. Over the past couple of years, I've by far seen more people moving towards the multi-touch screens, and single touch screens seem to be getting phased out in new applications that I see. The modularity of the Automation Panel 1000 has 3 main advantages. The first is that it's easy to update to new technologies without having to change the mechanical dimensions or the part number of the HMI you're using. So there are just 4 screws in the back of the panel PC. If years down the line you need more performance, you have to update to a newer operating system, or you have to load your latest application software, you can easily upgrade the PC hardware without having to update the HMI in the field. This is also the case if you have to perform service work on the PC or the HMI. If someone puts a hammer through the HMI, you don't have to replace the entire device, and this results in less downtime and simpler maintenance. The Automation Panel 5000 is our swing arm mounted HMI and panel PC. It's also available with single touch or multi-touch interface, and you can customize this product, like Mike was just talking about, with a batch size 1 requirement. So this pretty much means there's no minimum yearly commitments in order to have a customized HMI. The Automation Panel 5000 can be used as a swing arm mount HMI or just as a panel PC 2200. Because of the spacing and the mounting unit, we couldn't put, say, a panel PC 900 here because it would be too large to fit beneath this mounting unit. This panel is available with IP65 rated, and it can be mounted from the top or from the bottom. So there's a lot of design flexibility. If you're retrofitting old systems or if you're designing new equipment, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how you mount this hardware. The option for integrated push buttons in the HMI also offers a lot of value. It can help eliminate an electrical enclosure. It can clean up the wiring and reduce the overall cost of the system. The best thing about these buttons is that you can access them via an OPC UA network, which makes it really easy to collect data and integrate those buttons into a third-party system. If you're not familiar with OPC UA, it's a vendor-independent network for sharing data between different controls vendors and different levels within the plant. For example, it's really common for a machine to communicate OPC UA to an MES or a SCADA system that's at a higher level within the plant. So as mentioned earlier, in some cases, it may not be possible or really desired to have the PC integrated with the HMI. And in this case, B&R has created a technology called Smart Display Link, or SDL. SDL allows us to pass the display, touchscreen, LEDs, keys, and USB data between the PC and HMI over a single cable with a DVI connector on it. And SDL can be extended up to 40 meters between the PC and HMI, and it can work with any operating system. In some cases, you have to go further than 40 meters, or you don't want to have to use a custom cable. B&R also has SDL4, and this is a standard Cat7 cable. It has all the same benefits as standard SDL, only you can go up to 100 meters. So in this example here, we're showing how you can have a panel PC from B&R that has an SDL transmitter on it to extend your desktop to have multiple displays. You can also have an SDL4 converter box here. So if we really needed to get any further than 100 meters up to say 140 meters, this is also possible. And there's different screen content on each of these displays, so they don't have to show the same exact thing. So we also offer a variety of different swing arm mounted HMIs designed specifically to be used in the food and beverage and pharmaceutical industries. The stainless steel IP69K rated HMIs can be operated with gloves, and it's easy to clean since it has no dust collecting edges. It's also built with shatterproof glass, so that if you're in the food and beverage industry, if something happens, there won't be any glass splinters that get into the product. And then we also use illuminated ring keys instead of standard push buttons like we had on the AP5000. Each one of these white rings here will light up a different color and also acts as a push button to the system. And this whole system can be high pressure wash down. Of course, like the other product families, we also have IP69K rated stainless steel panels that can be cabinet mounted, and those are available from 7 to 15 inches. And also have integrated RFID for logging in an operator and tracking what changes are made in the system. So lastly, I just want to touch on the 3 different PC families and the performance that the different families come in at. The lower end panel PC from B&R is the panel PC 2200. It's using the Intel Atom processors. It's available with 1.3 to 1.6 gigahertz, either a dual core or a quad core processor. This computer also has the TPM 2.0, which is the trusted platform module, and that's used typically in cloud-based applications or databasing applications. And all panel PC 2200s are operated fan-free and work with a variety of different operating systems that you can see on the screen. The panel PC 2200 can be used with any of the B&R HMIs that are available. So it doesn't matter if it's single touch, multi-touch, cabinet mount, or swing arm mount, the panel PC 2200 works with every single display. The panel PC 3100 is our newest PC family. It's based on the 7th generation i-series processors. You can have up to 32 gigs of RAM in this panel PC, and it has 2 CFast card slots, which is kind of unique on the market and makes it really easy to set up one CFast card to run the operating system, the other one to set up the data. So it makes maintenance, again, a lot easier. All panel PC 3100s are also fanless. And there's an option for integrated UPS in the panel PC 3100 and the panel PC 900. And that pretty much allows, in the case of like a power failure, it makes sure that the PC has enough time to shut down so the operating system and other software doesn't become corrupt. Lastly is the panel PC 900. There's really 2 main reasons why you'd use the panel PC 900. One is you have to have a PCI interface or a PCI Express slot on the computer. The other would be you have a large amount of storage required to store locally at this computer. So we can put up to 1 terabyte drives in this, and you can do multiple drives. So this would really be a computer if you have a lot of data in your system you want to store. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Mike.
Thanks, Tyler. So before we open up to some of the questions that have come through, again, I want to thank you all for taking some time to see some of the HMI possibilities. We're showing some of the other innovations on the screen now from B&R, and we'll keep you posted on future presentations on these topics. So go ahead, keep sending those questions. We've got a few minutes here, and I've got a couple that have come in. So first one here, Tyler, what is the typical product life cycle for our HMIs?
Good question. I'm actually surprised I didn't mention that earlier. One of the things B&R kind of prides itself on is the long-term availability of the computer. So it's typical for a computer to be available for 10 years with service, maintenance, and repairs available for another 8 to 10 years after that. When I first started with B&R back in 2011, they discontinued a product that was older than me. It came out in, I think, 87. So That was a 21-year product life cycle on that computer.
Okay. I think we covered this, but it's still a good one. What is the minimum order requirement for your CHMI?
The minimum is 1, and it just depends on what type of customization people want to do. In some cases, if they're making a lot of mechanical changes, there could be a 50-piece minimum requirement. But for the standard panels that we talked about today, especially the automation panel 5000, that's just a quantity 1.
Okay. One person submitted this. You mentioned automation runtime. What is that?
That's B&R's real-time operating system. So that can be run on the industrial computer to do real-time control. So if you didn't want to put Windows there, but you wanted to use a high-performance computer as PLC, essentially.
And then on your swing arms, what different options are available with that, like tilt and rotate, etc.?
So on the images that I showed today, there's rotary, there's tilt, or there's a stationary option. But then there's also an option which is a Visa mount option. So that could mount up to any Visa mount swing arm.
Okay, here's another one. What other PLCs can your HMI work with besides the Allen Bradley referenced?
Okay, pretty much anything that has OPC UA on it would work. We also have some stuff built in for Siemens support. So pretty much Allen Bradley, Siemens, or something that has OPC UA built into it.
All right, looks like the last one that's rolled in, unless any others come in. How many displays can you have on a single computer?
Okay, so in the pictures I showed, we just had one panel PC and one HMI, so we had a total of 2 screens. But we can get up to 4, possibly 5, just depending on how many unique screens there need to be. So when I say unique screens, I mean different content. So 4 or 5.
Great.
So not, I guess, if we're using map view and we had many PCs, you can have the same HMI software running on a lot of different computers, up to 255 unique displays. But connecting back to a single computer, there's a limitation of 4 or 5.
Okay, good. Well, that's all I have in the chat here. So if there's nothing else, I think we'll start to wrap it up. And once again, everyone, appreciate the time to attend. Again, take just a brief moment to fill out that survey and the feedback on the presentation after you exit.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it.